Hello everyone, welcome to the Ginger Snap Series month of HORROR-WEEN, where I'll be discussing the Halloween franchise. I am your host, Stephen Harold, and in today's episode, we will be looking at Halloween. No, not the 1978 film, the remake, which was released in 2007 and was directed by Rob Zombie. After the failure of Halloween Resurrection, which is becoming a fucking trend nowadays, Malek Akkad ended up reserving all the rights after his father had passed away and ended up going to the Weinstein Company. Yeah, I know, Harvey Weinstein, that piece of shit. Anywho, he ended up wanting to make Halloween, and at the time of even discussing this, a lot of horror movie remakes were coming out. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, all these films just kept coming out left, right, and center. So when he approached Rob Zombie to direct the film, essentially, Rob Zombie was okay with it being a remake, even though he voiced his disgust for remakes. Okay. And then, of course, as we all know, the film came out in the summertime, set in October. Let's release it in the summertime. Sure, that always works out. And essentially, we ended up getting a remake, or reimagining, if you will, that is very divided in a very good or bad way. So, what do I personally think of Rob Zombie's reimagining of Halloween? Let's take a look. So first things first, just right off the bat, when it comes to the story, you have to remember, this is a remake, this is a reimagining. But of course they decided to take it into a different tone, which was, let's focus on Michael as a young boy that led to him being the Michael Myers that we know and love today. Well, of course, in typical Rob Zombie fashion, Michael Myers' upbringing is not just, a kid that randomly snapped one night and stabbed his sister to death. He is a kid who lives with a white trash family. He gets picked on at school. His sister's a whore. His mom's a stripper. And his stepdad or mom's boyfriend is an asshole. Yeah, that's enough for him to pretty much crack and then just start going on a killing spree. He goes to Smith's Grove where he meets Dr. Loomis. And eventually, after 15 years, or as Sheriff Brackett would say, 17 years, he breaks out to look for his sister. Yeah, for the story of this reimagining or remake, it does take quite a bit to get to the Michael Myers we know. But when it comes to focusing on the young Michael Myers, it is one of those things that you have to tell when it comes to a reimagining, a remake, or whatever, that in the original film, you only got to see like 15 minutes of what happened when Michael was a young boy. And instead, they dedicated almost an hour of the first act of this film to be Michael Myers as a young boy. So I know when it comes to the first act, a lot of people tend to shit on it. I personally do too. It's the second act that really picks up steam. So when it comes to this reimagining, it's almost a hit and miss kind of subject. When it comes to characters, this is the one thing that really gets the point across with this remake when it comes to discussing it, that really nails the ball. Because Rob Zombie casted quite an arsenal of actors to play certain roles. Like, for example, Malcolm McDowell playing Dr. Loomis in this film. Now, Malcolm McDowell was friends with Donald Pleasence, but he didn't want to pretty much copy what Donald Pleasence did. He wanted to make Dr. Loomis, his version, his own way. And it kind of worked for the whole entire film itself. And Malcolm McDowell's performance is absolutely top-notch. Then, of course, as we all know, we also have Tyler Mane as Michael Myers, the adult version, and Dag Faerch as the young Michael. So, of course, you have obviously two different actors to play the Michael Myers role. So, double the Michael Myers in this film. Then, of course, we have Scout Taylor Compton, who played Laurie Strode. I will say, she is no Jamie Lee Curtis, and I understand a lot of people love Scout Taylor Compton's performance as Laurie Strode, but I do not personally think she is a more believable Laurie Strode. I really just don't think so. But let's not get ahead of ourselves with the negatives on that one. We also got Danielle Harris making her return to the Halloween franchise as now Annie Brackett. So it's one of the weird things that I remember when I was looking up the information for this movie back in 2007 and saw Danielle Harris come back. And I was like, whoa, wait, hold on. she's making a return to the Halloween franchise, but as a different character. That's actually pretty unique. And I actually don't mind her performance in this film. And on top of that, her father, Lee Brackett, Sheriff Brackett, is played by Brad Dourif. Yeah, Chucky is in this movie. Fine fucking casting choice for that one, too. He is one of the best fucking casting choices for this film, let alone. And this is the part where I have to actually, shockingly, have to talk positive about Sherry Moon Zombie as Mrs. Myers. This is the one portrayal with Sherry Moon Zombie I can actually support. She's actually trying here. She's actually a believable character and more loving. You actually genuinely care for Mrs. Myers, and you fucking can't help but actually really feel the pain that she's going through. With also the other cast of characters that are in this movie, like you got Dee Wallace in this film too as well. You got Ken Foree as well. You got Sid Haig. This movie is just balls to the wall great when it came to casting. So what makes Michael Myers even more intense about this movie than he did in the other films? Well, we get to see him as a young boy this time, full-fledged, like I said in the beginning. A first almost hour, we're stuck with the young Myers. And Dag Farich actually does a pretty damn good job as the young Myers. It's just, I really wish that they didn't, make it so redneck, backwoods, hillbilly, trailer trash. I just didn't like that part, that whole aspect. But this is supposed to be a Michael Myers that snapped one night. But in this movie, Rob Zombie just makes Michael Myers have the reason. He gives him a reason, which is essentially, I get picked on at school, my mom's a fucking stripper, my sister's a whore, my stepdad is an asshole. Sure. So pretty much, when your life is shit, you're gonna turn into a Michael Myers. Whatever, Rob. But now let's get into Tyler Mane's portrayal of Michael Myers. Let's face it, I know a lot of people have a lot of negativities when it comes to this movie, but the one positive that comes out of this movie is Tyler Mane's performance as Michael Myers. This is by far one of the scariest Michael Myers there is. Just his physical presence as well, the fact of how he moves, just everything he does with this Michael Myers is so intimidating, so fucking scary. And Rob Zombie's original intent for doing this Halloween film was to bring a character who was once terrifying and make him terrifying again. And with Tyler Mane's performance in this film, Michael Myers is definitely fucking terrifying. So, good job, Tyler Mane. You're definitely one of the best Michael Myers out there. So when it comes to the kills and the gore in this movie, it's Rob Zombie directing it, so it's gonna fucking do something, right? The kills are very brutal in fashion in every single right with this movie. Even with young Myers, he even is brutal in this film. You see that he killed a rat. You don't actually see the rat killed. You do see that he has killed animals in this movie. You see him kill the bully at school in the woods with a fucking log. He kills Ronnie by slicing his throat open while he's duct taped to a fucking chair. You see him batter the Judith Myers' boyfriend's head with an aluminum bat. And then, of course, the kill, as we all know, Judith getting stabbed by Michael. Or, stabbed once and slashed multiple fucking times. Then, finally, as we get to the asylum part, Michael Myers has killed a bunch of security guards. Even Danny Trejo's character, which I don't feel like that was earned. Like, I agree with him. He was good to you, Mikey. Why'd you even kill him? So then, even when it comes to him being out and all the kills that he performs in this movie as well, top-notch shit, I must say. Even that bathroom fight between Ken Foree's Joe Grizzly and Michael Myers himself, pretty good shit. And for the carnage and the candy and the kills and the gore for this movie, pretty good. Now, of course, there seems to be a lot of things that are very positive about this movie that I'm saying. Well, of course, there is. But also, there's the overwhelming negatives of this movie. Number one is definitely for sure the vulgar nature of this film. Of course, it's in Rob Zombie fashion, so you have to hear skull fuck or, all the other great lines, like, choking the chickens off those flappy ass tits, like all this weird shit. And then of course there are problems with this movie that, to me, just maybe it's other people too as well. They see it as well. There's also Laurie Strode's portrayal from Scout Taylor Compton. This is not a Laurie Strode who's a virgin who, is all about her book smarts and all that kind of shit. This looks like a Laurie Strode who just looked like she maybe gave a few guys a hand job in fucking school or whatever and whatnot. And then, of course, there is the other thing too, which is Danielle Harris being topless. I know a lot of people really love Danielle Harris as an actress. I mean, I get it. She's hot. Yeah, sure. But when you watch Halloween 4 and 5 when she was a young girl, and the next movie you end up seeing that she's in a Halloween film, she's topless, it kind of is a little bit perverted. Now, obviously, one of the biggest fucking problems with this movie is we don't quite know what year is this set in. Now, of course, when it comes to Michael Myers when he's younger, it's been reported so many times that Michael Myers in this timeline in 2007's film is set in the late 1970s, but there are some 60s vibes to it. And then, of course, when he breaks out and he escapes, according to Rob Zombie, this is the 1990s now. But there are 70s overtones. Like, there are so many 70s aesthetics from, like, some of the wardrobe, some of the things that are being shown in the movie. Hell, like, fucking, even, like, the movies they're watching. If this was set in the 90s, no one's watching The Thing from Another World. They're not watching House on Haunted Hill starring Vincent Price, which is a good fucking movie. They wouldn't be showing those movies. They would be showing other movies of the time, like maybe the 80s or even some of the movies of the 90s. I get it, probably some, copyright shit. But still, this movie does not feel like the 90s. And I got a little bit more proof that it's definitely not the 90s. I got 4 photos here that prove this is definitely not the fucking 90s at all, Rob. Photo number 1 here, those headphones are definitely not from the 90s. Those look like early 2000s. And of course here as well, the wardrobe that you see Annie, Laurie, and Linda wearing are definitely not 90s wardrobe. It's almost like a blend of 70s, but also modern early 2000s wardrobe. Especially Laurie's zip-up hoodie. That's definitely a 2000s hoodie. Of course, let's not mention the fact that she is totally wearing glasses from the 2000s. This is definitely not the 90s. But what if I was to tell you there's definitely one glaring thing that really puts into question Rob Zombie's explanation of what year or what decade this movie comes in? So, Rob, you said this movie pretty much takes place in the 90s, right? Okay. So can you please explain to me this cell phone that is being used in this scene by Linda? She is totally rocking an early 2000s cell phone. Rob, were you even trying? Now here's the thing that I definitely have to mention, because it's definitely one of the negatives I have to say, but it really needed to be in its own column. The fact that Rob Zombie reshot 2 scenes. So there's a theatrical cut and the director's cut, obviously. And 2 scenes in particular are done differently. It's the scene in which Michael breaks out or the ending of the movie. So in the theatrical cut, what we got was Michael Myers being transferred and he breaks out of the chains and kills all the guards. But in the director's cut, we got quite possibly one of the most useless fucking scenes we could ever imagine. 2 guards raping an inmate in Michael Myers' fucking room. Now, I don't know what it is, Rob, with you and your fascination with fucking rape, but for some odd fucking reason, you just have to show it, hey? And also, Harvey Weinstein okaying this for a scene makes it a little bit darker if you learn what happened later on in Harvey Weinstein's fucking life, right, guys? It was a scene that literally does not need to be in the fucking movie, so it's glad that it was not on the theatrical release, but the fact that the director's cut even has it. What the fuck are you doing, Rob? But then, of course, there's also the ending. Now, the theatrical ending is where Michael is chasing Laurie throughout the Myers house. He bashes through the ceiling with a 2x4, and then they both fall over the balcony, and then she shoots him in the head. That's his theatrical cut. Now, in the director's cut, there's an ending I absolutely preferred, which was Michael Myers taking Laurie out of the cop car. Loomis is trying to talk him down, and the cops show up. And Michael lets Laurie go, and then is about to walk up to them where the cops gun Michael down. And Michael just essentially dies in this movie. I liked that ending better. And then when it comes to the breaking out scene, yeah, I like the theatrical one better because the rape one is just, there's no forgiving that one. Like, why the fuck is that even shot in the first place? Now, here's the other thing that I have a big problem with this movie. I know there's a lot of big problems I have with this movie, even though it's one of the movies I enjoy. It's the fact that Rob Zombie really wanted to make Michael Myers terrifying, but also more realistic. Now, it's been already noted before that he felt like Michael Myers needed a reason to why he killed people and why Dr. Loomis is more in tune with the fact that he's like pure evil. And the fact that he didn't like the fact that Michael Myers knew how to drive. He's like, no, Michael doesn't drive in this movie. Fuck that. But Rob, what you ended up doing was you ended up making Michael Myers a little bit more unrealistic. How the fuck is a kid who makes paper mache masks be able to grow to be 6'8", 280 pounds, can break chains, can crush a skull, can carry Laurie Strode when she's like fucking kicking and screaming, take bullets like nothing? How is this able to happen? And then, like, you made him so unrealistic in this movie. And what also is one of the things that gets really fucking stupid is the fact that it's established in this remake that, yes, Michael had a little sister named Laurie. Like, Laurie is his sister. And he goes and pursues her. So you want to know why Halloween 1978 never showed that reason? Because it was never fucking planned to begin with. So when you make Michael, who's been in a sanitarium for either 15 years or 17 years, suddenly go after his sister, who he's never laid eyes on, he just, I guess, had a hunch and pursues her. This is why the brother-sister storyline, guys, I know some of you love it so much, is not fucking believable. Rob Zombie's Halloween even fucking proved it. It's like, this shit makes no fucking sense. If he's not supernatural because you didn't fucking like it in the beginning, why did you make him supernatural? In, like, some other aspect. Like, oh, he just knows that's his sister. What the fuck, Rob? Now, for all the faults that I had to say for this movie, this is definitely one of the movies, after rewatching it again, that I can easily say I was quite, to a degree, entertained. Like I said, when it comes to the cast, it is well casted. The story had to do what it had to do for a remake or a reimagining, as a lot of people even say. The Michael Myers that we get is scary. That was Rob Zombie's intent. Even the brutality of the movie is great and all, but of course then there's the other half, which is you could have just erased the whole fucking trailer trash backstory. You could have fucking just made the movie more 1978 or anything. Like, Rob, why'd you have to fucking lie? You obviously just found out that, like, a lot of people are like, hey, dude, your movie makes no fucking sense. And now you're making up excuses. Some of the choices that were made, and of course the rape fucking scene that was not fucking necessary, is definitely one of the things that really brings the movie down a bit. But for what it is as a reimagining, it's still pretty much good enough to watch. And it definitely doesn't quite get the hate that it gets. It is a flawed remake, but it's definitely not one of the worst. And as for a Halloween entry, Rob, you may have pissed a few people off, but you still did a pretty good, reimagining of a classic story that most people, I understand why, are fans of. So, for my rating, I'm going to give Rob Zombie's Halloween a 5.5 out of 10. So tell me, guys, what do you think of Rob Zombie's Halloween? Do you actually prefer it to one of the best remakes of all time? Is it a film that you kind of just wish didn't exist? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you also hit that thumbs up and also subscribe for more spooky content this month. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you can get notified about all the other videos coming out for this month. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. This has been the Ginger Snap Series Month of Horror-WEEN. I am Stephen Harold, and in the next episode, we're going to take a look at Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie. Take care. And always remember, everyone's entitled to one good scare. Especially with what's coming next.